All right, all right. So, welcome. So, this is episode 9 of Talbott.tv, and we are honored to have Nicole Buckley here with us from Sarasota, Florida. And she has an insane group called Meet Me at Blue with like over 700 members on Facebook and a good core group of about 25 people. And I was fortunate enough to swim with you on Sunday when the water was mighty rough, and we have more stories about that to tell. But what we're going to talk about today is Nicole's going to talk a little bit about her Facebook group, and more importantly, the swimming group and the open water swimming, and why she created it, and a little background about her and where she's at and how she got where she is at, and then we'll talk about some other fun stuff too, and some of the challenges that you've been through in life, and how like maybe swimming has like really transformed. So welcome, Nicole.
Hi.
I love the painting, by the way, in the background.
Thank you.
Thank you. So tell me about that painting, first of all.
Oh, well, so yeah, that's all part of my recovery too. So I never knew I could paint. And this is just whimsical stuff that I do. I've used post all my rebirth or whatever I call it, swimming, art, quilting, my bipolar to the best comes out, right? People are like, you're bipolar. I'm like, yeah, look at all the things I can do, I'm bipolar. So I'd never been trained, and that's what I can do now. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, I love to paint. I don't get a chance to paint much. This is actually a painting from my mom. She was
I love it. I saw the other one with the boat and the looks like a boat on the water. That's beautiful.
That's my artwork. So that's actually I do photography. So I took a photograph, and that's in Switzerland, just on the Are River. Of course, it's a little enhanced with the colors because of I use like a Photoshop on my iPhone, but that's 100% iPhone. Had that printed on one of those canvas companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's ironic because one of the things I do too, and I think I talked about this briefly with you before when we met, was I do a daily photograph of our swim or of the blue lifeguard stand or whatever. And people will say to me afterwards, oh my, I knew it was beautiful, but you made it really look beautiful. And it's not that I over edit or anything. I see what I see and mine's through the camera. I use an Android, not an iPhone. And it's just, photography is also another way to get a message across to people. It's like you try to explain what you're doing. I've done it through poetry, I've done it through writing, but there's something about a photograph that can draw people in, I think.
I totally agree. And I love, that's one of my favorite things to see every day is your updates on both, you're on Instagram too, right?
Oh yeah, I prefer Instagram. Yeah, the Facebook group, I use Facebook mainly just for the Meet Me at Blue. There's too much other stuff there that just gets on my nerves, but I love Instagram because I call it square life. It's a photo, it's a snap, it's a quote, it's a quick little summary, and boom, you're done. You can move on.
Exactly. Yeah, you can put a little text if you want in there, but you don't need it. Yeah.
Right.
That's right. All right. So let's jump right into Meet Me at Blue. What is Meet Me at Blue?
So Meet Me at Blue is literally just, it's a Facebook page. I had a friend, we talked about how did I get it started? I got it started because I got annoyed with all the people texting me, are you going to be swimming? Are you going to swim? Are you going to swim? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to swim. So for 7 years now, sorry, the guys are doing the lawn out back.
Can't hear it.
7 years now, I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock. I go at 7:30 on Saturday. And until the pandemic, I used to do 9 o'clock on Sunday, and I did Sunday Fun Day. Now I usually swim at about 7 or 7:30 with whoever wants to swim with me. So I still get 5 days in a week, but the consistency of doing that, they don't have to necessarily contact me to see if I'm going to be there. In the process of doing that, it's just grown because one person tells another person to tell another person. And the 700 is not those 700 people may not necessarily have all swam with me at one time or another, but they may swim with me at some point, or they're looking to see what the conditions are down at the beach and they swim with a different group maybe.
Yep.
But for the most part, I would probably say I probably have met at least 500 of those 700.
That's a lot.
Well, and I feel bad because people will come down and they're like, "Oh, you're Nicole," and I'm like, "Yeah," and maybe shake hands or whatever, and I'm like, and I'm not going to remember your name if you come back. You'll remember. You're one of the ones I will remember. Talbott.
Oh, thank you.
There are people that come and they come back not year after year after year, but if they come back a couple of times, I may not remember them. So I'll remember the face,
yep,
but not the name. So
yes.
Anyway,
that's so cool.
Yeah, so I began the group out of annoyance to begin with, the Facebook group, I should say.
Yep.
The concept behind Meet Me at Blue was, I joke and I say, when I first came back to swimming, I got kicked out of master's practice because I was too slow. And I had gone home and sobbed my eyes out like a big baby. And I thought, I want to swim. And I know there's other people that aren't as fast as I am even back then. So why don't I swim with them? And it grew from there. It just grew. I do believe that Siesta Key offers something super, super special. And
right,
people are drawn to it anyway, much less open water swimming.
So when we were doing our like rehearsal, our like lighting check and everything,
Sure.
You were telling me about the sand, and the sand has it's like made out of quartz crystal.
Yeah. So the legends that what I've been told, and I have no scientific proof of this, but it's 99.9% quartz is my understanding.
Wow.
So as you experience it, it's white like powder,
yep,
and it's ice cold in the winter. And
yep,
it remains cool to your feet, even in the summer. So you don't have to wear shoes on the beach, which is a lot of people, I've burnt the soles of my feet on beaches before.
yeah, definitely. The sand can get
you
really
will
hot.
not do that at Siesta. The only time you need to wear shoes is in the middle of winter because it feels like icicles on the bottom.
Cool. So let me share my screen and kind of show your like Facebook page and like that cover photo. I'm going to pop it up onto my other desktop. So let me know if you can see the screen.
I can. And that photo is not one I took. It was taken by someone that's in the group's drone.
Look at that.
Yeah. And that's
so
literally
cool.
what the sand
And
looks
is
like.
this you right here?
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Is that Bambi right there?
That's Bambi.
That's
absolutely.
Bambi. We swam together on Sunday, right?
Correct.
Sunday morning. Awesome.
Yeah, and Bambi is a marathon swimmer. So she's done Catalina, I believe. She's done the 20 bridges. She's done Scar. She's slated for the channel in September of this year.
That's awesome. And Meet Me at Blue, because the lifeguard is blue, the lifeguard house is blue, and there's other lifeguards in the rainbow colors.
Right.
And that makes a nice meeting spot. And you can see just the photographs here.
Again, that one's not mine. That's Gary. He went down. He used a real camera for that one too. That's my photograph. I
that's awesome.
Stuff. Yeah. So I found that on the lifeguard stand, so I took a photo. But what I like to do too, Talbott, is I've been encouraging other people to post. Like if you take gorgeous photographs, take a photo and put it down there. If you swim at another time, write it in there, because the more community we build, the more safety there is, because I'm also about safety. I don't like people that swim by themselves. I think it's foolish and silly. At least bring somebody else with you when you get out there in the water.
And that's what I really enjoyed swimming with you guys, is you guys, I'm a slow swimmer. And so you guys waited up for me at each buoy. We went from buoy to buoy, and that's really great. So at one point I lost you, but I could focus on the buoy, and then we got to the buoy and there you were. So
I told you I would wait.
You did.
Did you notice we lost Bambi and Tom though? They were like, we're gonna go on. And
yeah, she needed some distance in. So I got my distance yesterday. I think I did about 4 miles. So I swam for like 3 hours. So Meet Me at Blue. So for those of you watching, you can just Google Meet Me at Blue Facebook, and it should come right up. Or if you type in Meet Me at Blue Siesta Key, I was able to Google that and actually find another let me see if I can bring it up. It's an article from Florida Open Water. And this kind of will tell you a little bit about it. And wow, look at that photo. That's a big group. What was that? What's the story behind that?
What that is prior to COVID, I run or host, I should say, what's called a oh my gosh, I touch the wall swim.
Okay.
And what it is it's from Blue, it's 2 miles to Point of Rocks.
Yep.
And then 2 miles back. And there's kayak support. There's probably about 150 people that showed up for that particular one. But I've done it for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. And we've had to cancel it all last year because I wouldn't, out of responsibility, invite other people to come. But there's no cost or whatever. It's just encouraging people to kind of push themselves. Some people swim 2 miles and then they walk back, or they do the reverse.
Yep.
What I find is we have a triathlon group called Sarasota Storm here locally, and they like to come out when they're training for their Ironman and things like that, and they get the longer distance in, which is something that they wouldn't normally do. Yeah, so those are all my photos.
Oh, those are awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So this is a little kind of like coverage of a little bit about Meet Me at Blue. Let me go to well, this we'll talk about later. Let me go to Google Maps. So I'll zoom out so everyone has a perspective. So, here's North America. We're going to zoom in here to Florida. And Florida, you can see all my favorite places there, like the DOS group over there. Shout out to Giancarlo and the gang. They've got St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay up here. And then right below that is Siesta Key. And right just north of Siesta Key is Lido Key, which there used to have a swim around that. Correct. And I'd never been to Siesta Key until last weekend to swim with you. Right. But I'd been to pretty much every year of the, I did go to every year of the Lido Key event, either as a kayaker or as a swimmer. And then this is where I'm located, way down here. Oh, where did I go too far? No, I got to keep going. I'm way down here in Naples, and I got a lot of favorite spots down there. But yeah, so here's Key West, and there's Cuba. So yeah, so that's where I would say we're like halfway down on the Panhandle is where we are, and an hour south of Tampa. Tampa. Hour south of Tampa. Awesome. And so if I zoom in to Siesta Key, here's it's a massive parking lot. So if people are coming to park, you typically recommend they park kind of on the most northern bridge. I think there's only 8 spots there right now, but we get mad when people take ours. We're like, they're in our spots. Yeah. But you can park anywhere here. But sure. And then if you're in this little spot, you can walk straight out of this end of this parking lot, and that'll take you straight to. There's my spot right there. There it is. Oh, is your car there? No, it wasn't. I was probably already home taking my nap. And you can, in this, last time I brought this up, you couldn't see it was blue because I think the angle changed. Maybe Google updated it. But oh yeah, you see it's a little blue there. Definitely blue there, yeah. And then over here is the green one. Right, and then there's the Moby map, which allows for handicap access straight out to the beach. Oh, look at that, handicap access. Look at that. That's right there. Right to the green one. That's awesome. Right. And then there's red and then yellow. So it's in alphabetical order. Red and yellow. Okay, great. And then if I zoom out, you can kind of talk about how, what would you guys do in this beach? Like, sure, when you go out. Sure. So what we do is the one that we do at sunrise consistently, and the one that we try to do, or I should say we do no matter what the conditions are, unless there's lightning or dead fish. We swim out from Blue. We swim to the first buoy. So we swim north. Yeah, we swim north. That would be and then we swim always, no matter what, to the last buoy. And which direction is that? That's south? Head south. Head south. Okay. And then we return back and go to the last movie and then do the warm down. So we get that's just a 1 mile.
But
That's a 1
because we
mile. Okay.
because we want a little bit more than that, we do what's called the flag. So we
Okay.
swim probably about another buoy and a half past the last buoy line.
Is
And
that somewhere down here where my mouse is?
yeah, it's down further. And that we do usually that's our normal swim that we do, unless we have rough conditions.
Awesome.
The one that we started doing last year a lot, and or actually 2 years ago, every Wednesday and Saturday we would do what was a 2 mile swim. And initially the masters did what was called the box, and it was just it's a building, it's a cube on top of a cube, and they called it the box.
Okay.
And we found out that it wasn't a full 1 mile. So my friend Doug figured out, he counts his strokes. He knew exactly how far to go. So we have this Norfolk pine tree that we use as our last spot. And that's an exact 1 mile and then a 1 mile back.
Excellent.
Then the Point of Rocks swim is start at Blue and swim south 2 miles to Point of Rocks, which is the last part of any sort of beaches that are available on Siesta Key. After that, it all becomes private until you get up to Turtle Beach.
Okay, I'm trying to see. So that's about a mile right there. It's hard to see. So, are you going past this one right here, Crescent?
Right, you can see, keep going just down a little. It's past Crescent Beach. See that little tiny ledge right there.
Yeah.
Right where your little cursor is right now. That's Point of Rocks.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
And so we swim all the way to there, and it's 2 miles.
2 miles.
And then swim back.
So 4 miles total. That's a great swim. And describe a little bit about, like, I was there, so I know, but it's like, it's pretty shallow, right? So
yeah. So one of the reasons, Oh, and one more swim that we do too, which we've started doing now, is we've been changing that. We've been doing this for 7 years. So we've started going from Blue, instead of going south first, we go north to what's called the Terrace, which is 1 mile, and then back. Or we go, when we were during COVID, we were actually getting in at Patriots Pier, swimming 2 miles to Blue and swimming back to Patriots Pier. So it was a 4 mile swim. And sometimes we would swim the Cove, which is all the way up to the tip of Siesta Key, right there. We would swim all the way up there to Blue and back. And that was during COVID, though. It's like we were all laid off from our jobs and we had nothing better to do. And so we were just swimming.
Have you guys ever gone around this point up here?
You can do it. I do know people who do. I know people that live up on that area, and they actually will swim across to Lido from there.
Oh, really? They'll swim across this channel here?
Correct.
Wow.
But that's very dangerous.
Yeah, without a kayak,
there's a lot of current there. You would have to time it. You have to know what you're doing. When we would swim that little cove just south of that tip there, you could get pulled. We got pulled out one time. JP and I got pulled out, and I was like, "What the heck happened?"
Riptide was taking you out to sea.
Oh yeah, we were headed out, and we're good, strong swimmers. But it can get you for sure.
Yeah.
So the thing about that little area that you can see where your red dot is, you can see it's like a little bit of I call it a horseshoe. It really isn't a horseshoe, but it's a protected swim area.
Definitely.
And so you can swim in there, and there's actually a couple of sandbars. So there have been times, depending on the tide and the time of the year, where you can actually walk out to the buoy line and stand the whole time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But, when tide's in, and depending on, again, the time of the year, as we were it was well over our heads when we were out there. So it can get to about 14 feet deep when you're swimming too.
Yeah. And the satellite image, you can see like the sand, like that looks like a sandbar here.
Yep. And so it can be, and like when they do aerial views, like when we were having the fish kill from the red tide that was so horrific 2 years ago, you can just see, the sandbars.
Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, what a magical place. Now tell me a little bit more about the sand, because you said the sand.
So my understanding is that Indian folklore, there's a lot of Indian folklore in Florida, but they're just saying that there's healing powers to the actual quartz in the sand. And I told you I've met many people. As you saw, as I got out of the water, I met this guy. He's dressed in an upside down t-shirt that looks like it's been ratty tatty, and but he lives on the Key, I'd run into someone else who we took to breakfast with us that was visiting from New Hampshire. You
Yep.
meet some characters, and one of the gentlemen there, he's like a guru or whatever, some yoga guy or whatever, and he believes that if you actually have like lesions, cancer, whatever, and
Yep.
you rub the sand on your body, that you'll actually heal.
Very cool.
I don't go that far with it, but I do believe in grounding, and I believe that walking in the sand there, that
Yeah.
there's healing properties. It feels so good on the bottom of your feet.
It does, and it's very different than the beach here in Naples. Like the sand
yeah.
in Naples is beautiful, but that
Yeah.
sand is like it's. I've never experienced anything like
Well,
it.
and the thing is also like you can go to Lido, which is just the next key up, or even Turtle, which is still on Siesta Key Beach, or
Yep.
Siesta Key, but it's the most southern part. It does not feel like that whatsoever. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't, it's totally different.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a special place.
What's that?
It's a special place.
It is very, very special. So if everyone listening, next time you're in Southwest Florida or Southern Florida, definitely get to Lido Key, Siesta Key.
Siesta Key.
Meet me at Blue, at the Blue Lighthouse or the Blue Lifeguard House, and check them out.
Lifeguard stand. Yeah.
Lifeguard stand. Thank you. So let's talk about change and go a little bit into like, how did you start swimming? Like what was do you remember the first time you swam?
Well, no, because the story goes, my dad, who was a military guy, he was a West Point grad and had served in Vietnam or whatever, but supposedly at the age of 2.5, picked me up and threw me in the water and said, sink or swim.
Wow.
I swam. My sister, when she had that treatment, went under.
Okay, she's saying.
So I don't ever remember not swimming. And it's something that I believe very firmly all children should know how to swim. I often say that swimming, and anyone can refute this with me, but they can't, is the only activity that we can do from in utero, because we're bathed in mama's, warmth of her womb.
Yep.
You can have an underwater birth and be born into water.
Right.
And it's the only physical activity or sport that you can do no matter what your handicap is, no matter what your disability is, whether you can walk or not, you can swim.
That's true.
There was a time in my life when I was actually wheelchair bound. And then after my surgery, I was able to use a rolling walker. I couldn't walk for any length of distance, but as long as I got into the swimming pool, I could walk for 2 miles in the pool.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's such a great healing
absolutely
process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as I said, I don't ever remember not swimming. I do know that the first time I ever had formal swimming was when I was 9 years old.
Yep.
And my father had gotten ill and my mom stuck us in the neighborhood pool. I took swimming lessons.
Yep.
And I failed my first swimming lesson because I had
How
no
old were you?
9.
9. Okay.
9 years old. And so I went from that to them taking me and him telling my mother that Mark Asher, was my best friend in high school, brother. He was my swimming teacher. He had said she needs endurance, put her on the swim team. So we started on the swim team that summer, just a little neighborhood swimming team.
Yep.
And then went to the YMCA. And by the age of 10, I was swimming in regionals for the YMCA. So,
wow. And you were from like the Midwest, right? So
Cincinnati,
Ohio. And so you were swimming for the YMCA, and then you were telling me earlier that you traveled to Florida for like a YMCA.
Correct. So the YMCA has a whole different. We did swim AAU because I was a decent swimmer. So I mean, I wasn't phenomenal, but I was decent. But the YMCA has like a qualifying meet. It's a national swim meet. It's always held down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or it used to be. I think it's just recently been changed in a couple of years.
Okay.
Yes, down at the Swimming Hall of Fame. Yep. And you had to qualify with a certain time to get down there. And by the age of 13, I qualified. And so I would go down, and every year my repertoire got I got more and more events till, I was full up by the time I was a senior in high school.
That's
So
great.
yeah. And then I did go on recruit trips for college, but got married instead, didn't do college. Not then, I did it later, but
So before we go there, your dad was influential as far as like swimming. He was like your swim coach at some point, right?
Well, he wasn't the actual literal swim coach.
Yeah.
We had a football coach who was our swim coach until we got a guy named Todd Taylor and Teresa Teggy, and they had been college swimmers, and they took us over when we were in senior high. But my father was my weightlifting coach, and he was extremely influential. We did swim bench, because I think I told you I've never had an injury, and I believe it came from him developing our proper stroke technique through swim bench, through weightlifting. We did a lot of things that weren't being done years and years and years ago, because it just wasn't. It wasn't like it is now. That's just all expected.
And that's incredible, because I think you said you didn't find out until after he passed away that he didn't know how to swim.
I never even knew that he did not know. My aunt was the one that told me. She says, yeah, your father didn't even know how to swim. And I was like, what? Because he had sent me to Doc Councilman swim camp at IU, and he, had the Doc Councilman swim book was on our coffee table. He critiqued my strokes. He perfected everything that I did.
Yep.
And I have to laugh because he didn't know how to swim.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So he was very influential in your swimming. And then you said you got married, had a couple of kids, and then now tell me about that. You said you had some struggles there. And
So I had a nervous breakdown after my second child. I divorced, and my life fell apart. I was diagnosed bipolar, put on medication, and I gained 150 pounds. At that time, I was working full time. I was a registered nurse by trade, and I didn't. I took care of everybody else. Single mom, doing what I had to do there. And so what I ended up doing was gaining a lot of weight, and I ended up being 200 plus pounds overweight.
Wow.
And after 13 years of living that way and being obese, my work did an intervention on me and said, look, you're not well. I was using 2 canes to walk. I couldn't stand longer than 10 minutes in one place.
Wow.
I was short of breath all the time. I had high blood pressure, pre-diabetic, you name it. I was dying, basically.
Wow.
So I went out on disability and had gastric bypass surgery.
Oh my gosh.
And I was successful in losing, in only less than 18 months, 240 pounds. Yeah. And
what was the highest weight? How heavy were you at that point?
The day I went in for my exam to be operated on, I was 380 pounds.
380 pounds, so nearly 400 pounds. And you were telling me
I was higher. I was in the program for 6 months.
Okay. Wow. So before that, you were more than 400.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that you had a hard time walking, and at one point you were in a wheelchair, right?
Correct. So from the time that they put me out on disability, in the 6 months time that it took for me to qualify to actually have weight loss surgery, because the programs back then were very, very strict. You had to prove that you couldn't lose the weight like other people or whatever. And I had already done that multiple times in my life, but whatever. I played the game to get the surgery. And so by the time I had surgery, I was in a wheelchair because I was 400 pounds, and it was agonizing on my legs and everything. So
did you say you had your knees replaced, or
I did that later on. So what then happened was I lost the weight, but they had the requirement that you had to exercise. But that was one of the requirements of my local program. And of course, I couldn't walk. You're supposed to walk a mile a day. So remember, I said I would get to the pool and I did my walking in the water.
Oh, and that's amazing. Yeah.
Right. So I used a rolling walker and I would have to sit. I was getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And so I was able to move around more. And the more I got in the pool, I started doing water aerobics classes and stuff. It felt good, but I still had this disability. My legs were frozen.
Right.
And it almost into like a 90-degree angle. And I was walking only on my tiptoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was going out to the beach that way. And it was becoming more and more and more difficult to get to where I wanted to go.
Because your knees were frozen at 90 degrees, so you're kind of.
And I'm walking on my tiptoes. I actually did a relay, the Escape to Miami, where you jump off a ferry.
Okay.
Before I had my knees replaced, and just getting to the ferry, it was agonizing. And then after the race, I did fine. After the race, my brother-in-law carried me on his back all through Miami because I needed a wheelchair, but I was too stubborn at that point in my life to go back into it.
Wow.
So long story short, so I went to the orthopedic and he said, look, Nicole, this is ridiculous. Why won't you let me fix your legs? And so I agreed to have bilateral knee replacements done at the same time. I was only 49 at the time, which is unusual that they would even do it that young.
Okay.
And he has told me that I'll probably end up back in a wheelchair at some point, but because I don't have full range of motion, my legs can straighten now, but I only have 90 degrees bend. So most people have, 130, 140, they can go back. I can't do that.
Wow.
So I can't go up and down stairs easily. I still have major issues with my legs and my back, but in the water, you wouldn't know it, would you?
I love it. Yeah, I think I told you I had my back went out for about 12 weeks and I was in major pain, either standing or lying down. Sitting was really difficult. So, and that makes it hard to work, unless you have a standing desk. But
absolutely.
Let me go. Let's go back a little bit and talk about the gastric bypass surgery. Let me share my screen again, and I'm going to kind of like show this like page I have over here. It's just a picture of grabbed off the web. So tell me a little bit about. So here's the esophagus, the stomach. You call this the duodenum?
The duodenum.
The duodenum, and then there's the
jejunum.
Jejunum. And then, so that's what the stomach looks like before the surgery, where it's one continuous flow, and there's like a stomach here where a lot of digestion happens. And so this is what it looks like after, right? Where the food comes in and they kind of create a little stomach pouch, right?
Right. Initially, when you first have it, it's 30 mLs. So it's 1 ounce.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they bypass the duodenum and they attach you by the jejunum. And so everything passes through there.
So it comes through there, but the digestive juices still come down from the stomach to help the digestion. But
now I had what was called distal RNY. So my pouch was made lower in the stomach instead of up high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell me about, like, was that difficult to go through that surgery? What was that experience like?
It was terrifying because I'd never had surgery prior to that time. The only surgery I ever had was as a kid when I broke my leg. So since that time, I've had multiple surgeries, but at that time, I'd never had surgery. I was petrified that, I was a single mom and I wasn't going to be able to raise my kids. But I was so close and so ill that I knew that I needed to, I had to do it or I was going to die. And even my surgeon said that to me. He said, Nicole, I gave you maybe 13 more months of life. Wow. You would have debilitated so badly. So
and how many years ago was that?
It's been 11 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, but with having that surgery, you have this problem of not absorbing any of your fat soluble vitamins, your iron, and you have difficulty with, you need to maintain a certain level of protein loading for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
The way I have been successful is I protein load. I still drink 2 protein shakes a day, though my nutritionist really doesn't want you doing that, but it's what works for me.
Yep.
And I make sure that if I'm going to eat carbs, even if I eat crap carbs, but I want to make sure that I protein load so that I don't have what's called dumping syndrome. And dumping syndrome is what occurs when your blood sugar drops rapidly after you eat something inappropriately and you become violently ill. Your heart rate races. I actually get into AFib when that happens. I become diaphoretic. You have bathroom issues. And I've actually one time accidentally had sugar in my diet. I don't know, I'd gone out to eat. If I had gotten a sugared Coke or something or whatever, something happened, sugared tea, and I ended up unconscious. So because your blood sugar dropped so fast.
Wow.
But beyond that, it's basically Roux-en-Y is forced starvation. It's forced starvation. My hair fell out. I have to take supplements for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I went into, after my knee replacement, I lost blood and they did blood transfusions on me, but I couldn't retic up quickly enough so that my hemoglobin stayed low for a long time.
Wow.
And I actually post swim was having cardiac issues. I developed a murmur, and it was all because I needed iron infusions.
Oh, wow.
So my iron was like, my ferritin was 8 and it needs to be about 40. So, I had the iron infusions and they tanked me up. My friends teased me like, we want what you have because now you're a fast swimmer, But what they didn't realize is I was working so subpar with my level of oxygenation to my blood the whole time I was swimming. So
right.
But anyway, so Roux-en-Y for me, and we talked about this, when you had mentioned interviewing me and I saw the previous people you've interviewed, I thought, wow, I am not a marathon swimmer. Yes, I have swam 7 miles in a distance. Yes, I can do 4 miles. I tell myself, any day you want me to swim a 3 mile, I can do that without any problem. Yep. But beyond that, I start having nutrition issues because we talked about feeding needs to happen every 30 minutes. I'm just not comfortable taking in that extra carbs and extra stuff because I worry about putting on excess weight too. Yep. And then without the proper nutrition, I hallucinate when I swim. So not a good thing to do when you've been bipolar. And you can hallucinate without swimming.
Right. Yeah. But you have to give yourself credit because like 7 miles is huge. Like, compared to some of the marathon swimmers we know, a marathon swim technically is 6 miles or above and without a wetsuit or whatever, there's lots of sorts of rules. But for most people, like I know a ton of people and they swim in the pool. They don't even do open water, first of all. And they're, always doing laps and hitting the ends and stuff like that, doing flip turns. When you're doing open water and you're doing, more than 3 or 4 miles, that's like a huge feat. And if you think about it, like even the Ironman triathletes, they're only swimming 2.5 miles. Yeah. And what we're doing.
Yeah, but then they go and bike and run a marathon too. Right. I mean, not happening with this girl.
Yeah, but a lot of triathletes, they struggle with those 2.5 miles. They have to do a lot of preparation to
they don't like doing it. They don't like doing it. And that's something else too about the Meet Me at Blue group. They're not, unless they're qualifying for worlds or nationals and things like that, they're not going to swim on a master swim team for the most part. They're just getting in their workout because they have to do it. Yeah. One of the things I feel like I can offer, and I think I shared this with you when in person, one of the things I love is I bring someone out there, they're petrified about the open water. What about sharks? And they whisper it like he can't hear. They want to know about the jellyfish and the things that can hurt you. And oh my God, what if something touches you? And so they're dealing with anxiety about being in open water. Yeah, I find that all intriguing personally, but they come out and they're got their watch on and they're so worried about their swath or how much distance they're doing. And I always say, stop, let's float.
Yep.
Let's listen to the waves. Let's feel the salt on your tongue, birds in the air, look at the fluffy clouds. And I try to create this Zen, let's make this about enjoyment, not just about getting to the end feat. Let's enjoy the journey there.
Excellent.
And what's wonderful to me is they're athletes. They're shape. They're in shape. If they just need to get over the anxiety, they go and they do the race and they're like, Nicole, I heard your voice while I was swimming, and it's like, yeah. And then even better, they come back and they swim with me and they're faster than me. That is just like, that's gratifying.
Yeah, that's
you get
awesome.
so much back in what you do in life.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Yeah, I find because I swim a lot with triathletes as well, and a lot of them like train in the swimming pool, and then if they don't go out in the open water and they go to the event, they freak out because it's not a swimming pool out there.
No.
It's not clear. Sometimes it's
No.
there's no lane lines, there's conditions, there's animals, there's all sorts of things that happen, and so that getting over that anxiety, sometimes triathletes will fail because of that, and they'll dread the whole swimming.
Absolutely.
So it's great to bring triathletes into these open water swimming groups and get them relaxed and enjoying and doing what we do, which is just being a fish, being a seal.
Right.
Or a
Absolutely.
dolphin.
I call myself a mermaid. Well, one of the things is, and you met Tommy Schwartz on this on Sunday morning. I was saying to him, I said, I was like, why does this dude want to interview me? I mean, I'm just meet me a blue Nicole, and he said, Nicole, you are one of the biggest advocates for open water swimming that I know. And, I may not be the one that's actually out there doing marathon swims and doing 20 bridges or SCAR, and I will never do those things, but meet me at Blue and we're going to have a good time.
Yes, definitely. And what a blast I had when I met you guys there, and we went for that swim, and I can't wait to come back.
And I think I told you too, my motto too is there's no charge. There's no charge. Exactly. I had someone that wanted me to host a sponsored event.
Yep.
It was going to be a race, and I think they wanted to kind of put our name on it. And when I said, no charge, it's got to be free. I'm sorry. And they're like, we'll go somewhere else. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that, because being in a limited income situation myself, and knowing what it's done for me, being in the ocean, being in nature, doing, how can I charge someone for that? Even if I'm spending one-on-one time with you and meeting with you and helping you and teaching you how to go around buoys and how to sight and how to enter the water properly for a race, I can't charge someone for that,
Exactly. And I think that's the coolest thing. And I'll definitely be featuring more open water swim groups that are free. That's really important, because that's a big part of the community. My other life besides swimming is I'm a software consultant, and we do a lot of Microsoft consulting. And we used to run the SharePoint Saturday of Boston when we were based up north in Massachusetts. And that was our rule, is like, look, you can go to these conferences and shell out $5,000. It's great if your employer pays for it, but if you don't have an employer, you want to get in on this, you want to like be around other people that share the same passion of your technology. We would actually get the same speakers that people would pay $5,000 to speak, and it would always be free. It was always on a Saturday, so it didn't conflict with work, and it was always free. We got sponsors to buy the food, and Microsoft was kind enough to give us like a space, and that was, I think, really important in the community, is giving back. And so, and down here in Naples, Florida, we have a Park to Pier that's coming up pretty soon, and the Park to Pier swim is the same way. It's free, but if you want to, you can donate money. So the recommendation, 15, if you donate 15 or more, you get a t-shirt out of it, but you don't have to. You can swim from the park to the pier with the whole gang and enjoy it. And it's open to the public. It's great. Yeah. So I think that spirit is really awesome.
Yeah, now within the group itself, we had a gentleman who donated shirts. He had shirts designed called Meet Me at Blue. They were beautiful wicking shirts, and 100% of the proceeds went to US Masters Learn to Swim program.
Nice.
And my girlfriend Julie was extremely she took it over. I was like, listen, I got enough in my life. I'm not taking on selling bathing caps or selling shirts, because people will say, why don't we have this or why don't we have that? I'm like, if you want to do it, I'm fine with it, but there can't be a profit made somewhere. You can't be pocketing money on this thing. And if you want to do a tax write-off and a donation, that's one thing, but no money gets attached to Blue, No, not doing it.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about what are your goals? Do you have anything else going on that you're hoping to accomplish in the world of swimming? And
all I can say is that if I keep saying this, if I can bring anyone to open water, that even people that have swam in the past, because I was an age group swimmer that only had swam in a pool. It didn't, I grew up swimming, going to the beach up in Nantucket and stuff when I was a kid, but I played in the waves. I didn't swim open water. But if I can bring anyone to the love of that, and that they can move on with that in their lives, what a gift. It's a beautiful, as being there's something about that armpit sunrise, I call it, where you're taking that breath, you're looking up and the sun ball is sitting in your armpit. You've got other people that are just as happy as you are. It's like, I've never in the 7 years that I've been doing this, have I wanted to hit the snooze alarm and not go back to sleep sometimes? Heck yeah. But I get up at 5:30, I get out there. I have never in 7 years walked off that beach and not thought, God, I'm mad that I did that.
Yes.
I don't care what the situation is, but if I can help someone have the love of being in the water, listening for dolphins, looking for crabs on the bottom, picking up sand dollars, looking at the different fish, getting stung by jellies, we all seeing the manatees, the manatees swim up to us. What a gift that God has given us in nature, right there for the taking. If I can bring someone to that, I've received a gift.
That's awesome.
Because it's going to ripple out into the world. I always say that if I were to stand, and I always have this picture of my parents, because I was born in Germany, because like I said, my dad was in the military. They had this painting on behind their living room couch, and it was beautiful mountains on a lake. And they were, I pictured myself standing on the edge of that lake. And if I were to take a pebble and to throw it into the water to create the ripple effect out into the water, I want the pebble that I throw out in this world to be positive for others. And I think it's interesting that I've always had that visualization in regards to water, because I believe that water is healing.
It is.
And especially salt water, there's a gift to be given, and I don't care how fast you are. But don't tell me you're going to meet me and not show up. That ticks me off, because I won't swim alone. I mean,
that's good. It's that buddy system's really important in swimming. And I'm the same way. Like after I swim, I'm always so glad I did. I will sometimes go, maybe it's because I'm alone, I don't have a support, or maybe it's because I'm just not feeling it that day. Like, I'll swim in San Francisco where the water's really cold. And if you're not feeling like, it's the right time, it might, you probably want to listen to your body, but getting over that fear or that anxiety or whatever. So sometimes I feel like I don't want to swim, or I'm nervous about swimming, but once I'm in and swimming, I'm always happy. And it doesn't matter how cold the water, it could be 40 degrees, it could be 80 degrees. After I'm done, I'm just like, oh, I'm so happy I did that. And
yeah, so the thing that's ironic is, people, we laugh about skins versus not wearing skins. I mean, there's all this controversy about that. And I'm equipment, not equipment. I'm like, part F that, I don't care how you do it.
exactly.
Just freaking do it.
Do it.
And so we laughed because the joke was we had 3 people that had never done it before, made it skins all year this year.
Wow.
It was like their goal. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'm not going there. I know my temperature. I know what I need to do with my Renaud's. I know what I can handle. But as you're going into that water, and we do get down to 55. I mean, even though it's tropical area, air's 42, water's 55. And you're going in and you're screeching and you're carrying on and we joke about the getting in and why are we doing this? And we're crazy and we're nuts. And as you're doing it, you're laughing the whole time, Except
swearing helps for me. I like to
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
massive profanity as I'm going.
Sailor mouth. Oh yeah. My dad would roll in his grave if he heard me talking.
Oh no.
Yeah. Salt of the earth. I am. But yeah. And I have to laugh because my swim husband, Doug, who I've swam with for 7 years, he goes skins. He's from South Africa, but English, he's English South African. And so he loves the cold water and he never says a word. And I'm like, I know you're having trouble. I know that you are dying, but you are not going to, and I egg him on all the time, but yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, I found that once you start swimming, no matter how cold or how much fear or whatever, once you get in, you're always happier when you get out. And it's
always
a healing event.
It's good. The cold water is good for the inflammation. It's good for pain. It's good for depression. And I talk about the healing powers of Siesta Key. I think it's the combination of the sand, the weather, the salt water. There's such a beauty there that it's been healing for me. And though I still have all my ailments, I function better now that I've created this routine in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. So
that's cool. So before you were talking a little bit about like the wildlife aspect to swimming, I want to go into that because I want to hear some stories about dolphins, manatees, rays. What kind of experiences you've had there?
Yeah. So I told you, and I'm not doing it today. I have my dolphin call that I do. I was so sad they didn't show up when we were swimming on Sunday. They came the next day. We had the whole pod. But we have 200 documented dolphin in Sarasota Bay. Moat Marine is a local biology thing. I love-hate relationship with them. But they do a dolphin marine. So they tag some of the dolphins. Some of them I know the fluke by the thing. And I know I shared this with you, but I will share it again. So, for years I've swam. Doug and I would always swim alone. And there, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, dolphins going by. And I assumed, I don't know why, I thought it was like a juvenile male. And I just assigned it juvenile male. And it would come by, and it was very playful. And I knew it was him because of the little notch on his fin in a certain place. Well, the following spring, excuse me, my nose is running. The following spring, I'm going and I see him. And he had a calf. And so I realized it was a female.
It was like
yeah. And so I've had many people say, "Oh, the dolphins touched me, brushed me, whatever." I've never had a dolphin touch me, never. So I think that people think that they've touched them. I know that they've been within arm's reach. I've had them within inches of me, but I've never actually been touched by a dolphin. I've been touched by other things, but but so the dolphin, the baby, was coming right to me. I mean, and I'm standing there and Doug was even like giggling over it. this baby, male or female, was literally almost within probably 3 to 6 feet of me.
Okay.
And that female came in and swooshed right in front of me and prevented the baby from coming to me.
Interesting.
And I have told myself, and whether it's true or not, who knows, I have told myself that this baby dolphin, she was introducing me, but she was also teaching, you can't touch. You may go near, but you may not touch. And so, no, bad baby, you know. And but we
the protective mommy.
Yeah. But I mean, and whether that's
and
true
this
or not,
was and this was a dolphin that you had swam with many times before. You recognized it from
absolutely because of the little notch in the fin. I knew.
Dorsal fin. Yeah, that's very cool.
And then
so she was basically showing the baby to you, and
I said she was introducing us, you know, and she wanted to let me know that
definitely. They are very smart, and they're very in tune with us, with our emotions and with our sensibilities. They're amazing animals.
Well, and you know, they rape and pilfer. I tell people, you know, they have done studies where they actually have names for each other, they said, through their clicking and sounds they make. And that they've actually done studies where they said that they talk about each other when they go away. So they're brilliant, you know. Come on. And they probably like, hey, she's out there again, let's go, just let her know we're here, you know. But now Doug, his best story, I think, he will tell the story if I prompt him. He's like, no, you just tell it, because he knows how I am. I embellish a little bit, make it a little bit more fun.
Me too.
But he was standing in the water. He always goes straight into the water. He comes out to the beach in his same pants or same bathing suit, carrying his fins, cap, goggles, no towel, just his keys and flip-flops. I don't care how cold it is, how hot it is, same routine. Goes out into the water, doesn't talk to anybody, goes straight in and waits for us at the buoy. And yeah, that's the rule. Don't question it, just do it. So I was walking the beach and talking to one of the other guys that we were going to get in swim. And I look at him and I saw manatee, huge manatee coming. So they come right up to the shoreline. They will beach themselves on the beach sometimes. Not often, but they do, especially during mating season. And the water temperature needs to be above 80 before they show up, because they're going to stay in the warmer waters. But so we'll get them, and they come by in the morning, and you'll just see this dark shape moving. And I'm screaming at him, Doug, you've got a manatee. I'm pointing. He didn't realize it, but all of a sudden the manatee came right up to him and put its mouth on his leg and just kind of moved it on his leg. And so he'll tell the story, its mouth was really soft. And so we keep saying, you know, we're not supposed to molest the manatees, but the manatees can molest you if they want.
That's really cool.
And I will tell you that I have pet manatee before, because they, like I said, they come right up to you while you're swimming. I actually hung out with one for almost 15 minutes one day. And we were doing aqua jogging, which is something else that I like to do after I swim. I put an aqua jogging belt on and go out and run in the water. And he was there, or she, and after 15 minutes of me just petting her, she was gone, you know. And they're very fast, very fast when they decide to leave off.
So dolphins, manatees. What about
the other
rays?
thing is, well, rays, I actually stepped on one the other day. I got scared to death, screamed bloody murder. That's my biggest fear. I am afraid of stingrays, because the first swim partner that I ever had stepped on one and ended up in the hospital.
Ouch.
Because when they throw their barb up on you, and in Siesta, they're the same color as that sand. So they burrow themselves underneath.
Exactly.
But I have stepped on one just this past week, but he wiggled away. He didn't throw his barb. So I always said he knew I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't mean it. So we do what's called the Sarasota Shuffle. So we keep your feet in the sand as you're moving, and usually, but we'll have huge manta rays that, I mean,
Wow.
Their arm span is unbelievable. And what's fun is to see them when they soar out of the water and slap.
Yes.
And you know why they do that, right, Talbot?
Is it for mating?
Yes, whoever has the biggest splash, the female wants him. So it's all about the male slapping to say, hey, look, I've got the biggest splash from you. So
yeah, they do that in Naples too. They're fun. I love rays. And those guys don't sting.
The manta rays do not.
Manta rays and we also have these things called the spotted eagle rays. They're black.
Yes, we have those too. Yep.
And those, they don't get as big as manta rays, but they're just such beautiful animals. And they're so gentle and curious. And then we have bat rays too. They don't sting. So there's a lot of rays that don't sting. And there is that stingray that tends to bury in the sand. And I think it doesn't like to be stepped on, you know?
Well, would you?
Exactly. So be careful who you step on, because they might say, no,
exactly.
I don't want you to hurt me.
Yeah. The last thing that we encounter a lot are jellyfish. So we have a jellyfish season. Usually starts in about August, peaks September, October. We use Safe Sea and we'll wear rash guards or whatever, because it can get pretty brutal. We had a storm, I can't remember which hurricane it was, and they were stinging nettles, which, as you know, they can have 2-foot long appendages, and they're clear, so you really don't see them very well. But they got trapped in Sarasota Bay, and they were there for almost 3 months. And it was so bad that you would literally reach in with your stroke, and you would be like, oh, I hope this isn't the time they get me. You were afraid to reach in because you just knew it was going to happen. You just didn't know when. And then you scoop it, and then of course you wrap it your arm, and then you pull it down your body because of the way you're swimming your stroke, and you get out and you're just covered in welts. Really uncomfortable, so the stinging nettle is the most uncomfortable. We also get moon jellyfish, which we tend to get. They're huge, gelatinous, whatever. I mean, they can be, they're just absolutely humongous. They tend to come with the full moon. And they tend not to be too aggravating. You're more itchy if you get hit with one of those, but you don't get welts. Like they don't have the long tentacles, so they don't get you in that regard. That one season that we had pink meanies too, I was heard they're like these blobs of pink ones. They were uncomfortable also, but they tended not to move into the shoreline as much as the stinging nettles did. And we have a lot of sea lice. Because we're so warm, I think. How I deal with that is I wear a bikini. And I lose my top. So I take it and I tuck it down into my bathing suit bottom. The only problem is our water is so clear that I'm like, okay, guys, just so you know, because I do tend to swim with more men than women. There tends to be more men that do open water than women. But they know me, and they're known to take and wear it on their neck, What we say, what happens at the beach stays at the beach,
So I've been known to do that too. So
there's nothing more freeing, right?
Definitely. So I've been very fortunate because I haven't really had any major encounters with stinging jellyfish. I've had actually one time I got stung right on my neck. I was coming into the moorings here at Naples, and we were racing, and all of a sudden I swam really fast and it struck me. Maybe I was like coming down, but I must have hit the water, and that slap as I was hitting the water from that breath, and it hurt. It was bothered me for like a 2 weeks, a week and a half. And it was, kind of itchy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a long sting. And we get sea lice, which I think most of the time sea lice are basically baby jellyfish. They're just they're very, very, very young and small. You can't even see them usually. And then the other thing is too, with the jellies that tend to sting, is like you're not seeing any jellies. We get a lot of cone jellies. We get lots of different kinds. It is when the tentacles breaks off. So you're not even seeing the jelly, but you're wrapping the tentacle that still has the poison. So Yeah.
And we call it jellyfish Tourette syndrome. So, you're like, oh, and it's what the words that come out of your mouth as you're getting stung. There has only been one time where I went in and we had these little cone jellyfish things, and it was more because it was freaky. They weren't stinging, but they were so freaky. I think there must have been thousands and that. It's like you couldn't reach without just cupping all this jelly. It was, I was like, mentally, I was like, that's it, I'm out. You know, I tried to make it to the buoy and I couldn't.
Yeah, I've touched a lot of jellyfish. I've like felt them in my hands and stuff like that. But I'm a pretty gentle swimmer. I'm not like an aggressive competitive type. So I'm usually doing these long distance swims and like really gentle strokes. And it was that one time when I was like, it was that end of the swim I was racing that I got stung. So I think if you're not as aggressive, you're less likely to get stung. So that might be why I've been more fortunate. Of course, now I'm going to go out and get
stung to death. Well, and like I said, we have that period of time, and like I said, we wear safety. We might wear a rash guard, and it really, you get here zing. It's like the other day I had a little zing on my back. Whatever that you expect.
Right.
But when we had those nettles that got stuck, there was nothing you could do. It was just, they're tide dependent. They got stuck in the bay and you couldn't get rid of them. And that was brutal. When we talk about it, even now, 3 years later, oh my God, remember? Wow. Oh yeah,
Okay, so I think we covered all of the little cute crawlies except for
which one?
Sharks.
Oh God, whatever.
You don't want to talk about them?
No. I am one of those where I laugh at people that say, "Oh my God, well, aren't you worried about the sharks?" No, because guess what? That's their home. I'm in their environment.
Yeah.
So I have had 1, 2, 3, 4 close encounters with sharks. Mm-hmm. One was right at Siesta Key Beach. I was talking with a friend. We were standing. I was introducing her to open water. Yep. And there was an aggressively fishing shark. He was inside the buoy line, and the lifeguards call it the man with the gray suit. They'll clear the beach. I was a little leery that day because I was literally standing in waist deep water and he was right there at the shoreline. My other encounters were up at Point of Rocks, and that's where they fish and chum, and it's just part of nature. Yep. I laugh because I put the guy that I was helping, he was training for the alligator swim, and that's when we were getting, we started slower distances and we got up to the 7 miles, and so we were swimming up past Point of Rocks up to Turtle and coming back. Yep. And we would buy, and I made the decision, well, I'll put him closer to the open sea and I'll stay closer to shore. Yep. And that will protect me from the sharks. Stupid thought. I mean, sharks don't care if he's closer to it was silly. Yeah. And then my only other time where I actually stopped swimming was during COVID, when I told you we went in the dark because we thought we were going to get arrested for entering into the water in the dark. And so we went in and we were swimming, and the other gentleman that I was going stroke for stroke with, he stopped, and I was like, oh my, and I go, yeah, that was a shark, and he was big. But again, we were swimming by a pier, which it's a groin. It's an old pier. There isn't anywhere, but people fish off of it. And when you do that, that's what happens. They're going to where the fish bait is. So yeah.
It's an interesting. I have a less so now, but I used to have a really strong fear of sharks, but also a strong fascination. Same thing with snakes. I love them, but I'm also scared of them, and it's a healthy thing, I think. But sure. But if you think, like, for those of people who are watching, if you think about, like, statistically, humans kill 100 million sharks every year. 100 million worldwide sharks are killed by human, fishing or whatever. Sure. And sharks only kill 10 humans a year. That's like, the chances you could be killed by one. And a lot of those, like something like 40% of shark attacks are provoked, which means, people are messing with them.
So
and
I
they're
laugh
trying
and say,
to,
I have more of a possibility of being killed driving to go to the beach than I do anything happening to me in the water with a shark attacking me.
most definitely.
Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to go out there actively cut my hand open with blood, whatever, and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm also careful where I don't like to swim pre-sunrise. I mean, we get in before the sun rises, but I like to see the dolphins. I know that the dolphins are there. They'll protect you. So
Yeah, they will.
And I don't swim after in sunset. I don't then. I do get in sunrise, but I don't sunset. I won't swim then either.
Yeah.
Just out of, why provoke it, right?
Yeah, and I did the little research to figure out, okay, what time of day do shark attacks normally happen? And they're more likely to happen during the day, but that's probably also because you're more likely to be
more people are out then too.
It's not a if you really get into all the stats, there's not a lot you can do, and it's like it's like driving a car. If you were afraid that every time you got in a car you're going to die, you're never going to drive a car. But the chances are you dying or getting injured in a car are so much greater than open water swimming with sharks. It's much higher. Now there is still a danger, and that's why you take precautions. And if you're driving, you wear a seatbelt. You'll make sure you stop at a red light and not go through the green.
Absolutely.
Wait till it turns green. So, but anyway, So I absolutely love sharks. I think the sharks are 99.999% of the times are never going to hurt you, but there's always fun to talk about, and that's why I tend to
absolutely
feature them in Talbott.
And I'm not, remember too, I do shoreline swimming, so people like, oh my God, you're out there in the ocean or whatever. Yeah, I'm not jumping off a boat. Well, I've done that, but I'm not out in the deep swimming like you see marathon swimmers swimming across the channel. I mean, I'm not doing that type of swimming. So maybe I'm naive to think, but I always say when people see a fin, I'm just like, oh, it's dolphin. I mean, I just don't even say, oh, it's a shark. I'm like, no. I mean, if some people will say, no, that was a shark. And I'm like, no, it was a dolphin. And call it naivety, call it whatever. All fins are dolphin.
There you go. That's awesome. So what other types of creatures that have you guys run into or experienced? So is that pretty much it?
Yeah, I will tell you, so one day, this was the craziest thing with the lifeguards, sea turtles. I would love
sea turtles.
to see a sea turtle. That's something I've never encountered. I want to see a natural release where they break out. I'm obsessed with it, but it just hasn't happened. I'm always watching because they do nest on the key. Not as much Siesta Key, but like Lido and Nokomis and Turtle Beach. I would love to see an eruption, not by someone's video camera, but actually be standing there and squeal and carry on or whatever. But what I have seen, one time we had this a spiny lobster. And it's a Florida lobster, so it has no claws. But it was just it was huge. Wow. And the lifeguard got all excited too. I think it was like a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning or something. And he was like, oh my God, I've never seen that. And that was intriguing to me. I've seen octopus.
Cool. Octopus, really?
Oh, of course. And we also seahorses.
Oh, wow. I love seahorses.
Yeah.
Big? They're like this big, right?
They're so tiny. Where they usually will be is if you can find a rope or netting or something that's been on the bottom of the ocean for a little bit and you pull it up, or a clob of seaweed, you'll often have a little one just hanging on for dear life,
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. The other thing is cuttlefish. I had a lot of.
I love cuttlefish.
They all complain. I don't know exactly what they're called, but they ink purple. That is so much fun. And I'm one of those people where I'm always aware of my surroundings in nature because of my father taught us to do that.
Yep.
When I'm on the beach and there's kids playing, I'm always like, did you see this? And it's amazing. And again, how many people are in this massive amount of beauty and they're not seeing it.
Right. And that's the big difference, is when you kind of take a step back and you relax, get into the whole zen of the swimming experience, you can start to open up and see so much more. And
right, like the
relax.
seabirds, we have the plovers that come from Alaska. We have egrets and sandhill cranes, and we have sandhill cranes aren't down by the water, but we have the cormorants that swim underwater, and we have beach bunnies. We have these two bunnies that we know are there every day, and we have the rats, the little rats on the beach too.
Yep.
But it's interesting to me. Like I said, it's all free for the taking, so why not stop for a moment, breathe, and really look through the two eyeballs that you were given and see what's around you.
That is so awesome. Well, Nicole, I think I don't know, we got a little late start because we were playing around with the settings of Zoom, but it's about 4 o'clock. I don't want to go too far beyond the hour, just so that consistency with the episodes. But it has been so wonderful talking to you, and I had such a great time swimming with you guys.
I'm glad.
And you were telling me that it was like, it was unusually rough when we were there, and the next day it was nice and calm.
Yeah.
Dolphins and everything.
And that's the other thing too. The other thing about swimming open water is you never know what your conditions are going to bring for you.
Right.
It's like when they slate them to swim the channel, I think they're given a week's time and they might be called at 2 a.m. in the morning and say, let's go. The conditions are right now, it's time. It's like that. And Tommy, who you met, he has a saying that I'm always quoting: you never know unless you go. You can look at the wind report, you can look at the surf report, you can look at the weather, but you don't know what's going to be happening right down there at that lifeguard stand unless you actually get up and go there and put your feet in the water.
Exactly. So you never know unless you go. So, and one other thing, I think we talked about things that are dangerous. I think we, as open water swimmers and people who are new to it, don't worry so much about sharks. I would say more worry about motorboats and jet skis. Make sure you have a buoy or something like that, or you're swimming in a group. Have a bright colored cap, as I like to do. The other thing is lightning, right? Lightning is a big problem in Florida.
Right. I have some, like I told you the one time I say I never swim in lightning, but there was this one time someone actually took a photograph of me and the sky was black behind me. I will not swim in lightning. That will get me out. I am very careful in that regard. We've had someone killed on the beach, not in my group or anything, but struck by lightning on the beach that died. So that don't play around with. There's two things that will keep me out. That is severe red tide. I swim in red tide. We have it right now. You swam in it the other day. If there's dead mammals on the beach and dead fish, not just one or two, but like a lot of dead fish, I don't swim then, and I do not swim during lightning. Otherwise, I'm in the water.
That's awesome. That is awesome, Nicole.
And one other funny thing, you talk about the length of time. My swim group will say, thank God we swim, because I would just talk the whole time. And they're like, thank God you put your face in and actually
your head's under the water. That's awesome. So Meet Me at Blue. Everyone can find it on Facebook. I'm actually going to publish this, as I typically do, on Instagram, IGTV, Facebook, YouTube, and I will also put it on Talbott.tv, which is actually a URL. You could just type it in your browser. But if you go to Talbott.tv, which is my blog, you'll actually be able to see some of these links that we talked about in here. And if you have any other photos or other links, I can add those to the page as well. That will feature your interview. And this
so the Instagram that I go under is Sapphire, but it's spelled wrong because on purpose, but it's SAPHRE 1964. That's where I do my daily posting. Quilting.
All right, let me bring that up. PHRE. As it what's the number again?
1964. I'm 57.
And then I'm gonna do Instagram. I'm just Googling it so that I can bring it up, and then there it is. And I'm gonna share my screen just so that people can recognize it. Share screen, desktop 1. All right, let's take a look. Here we go. I love that profile picture.
So
it is SAPHRE 1964 follow. I'm following you. I'm not logged in here, but
sure.
You've got all sorts of stuff about your quilting.
Right. So it's quilts, quilts, mermaids, and swimming in the sea. So
that's freaking awesome.
Right. So my main thing is that I believe I keep that kind of like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't go in square life. I joke and I say, and social media is not real life stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I do post some thing. I actually have my own hashtag that we use called Meet Me at Blue. And if you just use that hashtag, you can see what we do at Blue on a daily basis. We have other people using that hashtag now also. So
Meet Me at Blue hashtag, fantastic.
I actually have it in as the originator of Meet Me at Blue up in the top of my profile. And if you tap on that.
Oh, there it is right there. Yeah. It's going to probably ask you to log in. Oh, no, there it is. Look at that.
Then it just becomes Meet Me at Blue. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Look at that. That's a great
special place. It's certainly a special place.
So gorgeous. It's such a great site and everything. Okay, great. Well, thanks a million, Nicole. And it's been such a pleasure hanging out with you and talking to you, and can't wait to see you again soon.
All right. You keep coming up. You know how I always say, meet me at Blue.
I will. Thanks, Nicole.
Bye, Talbott.
See you.
Bye.